Peru is the very first country in Latin America that I'm visiting since I took over my new responsibility as Secretary General of Amnesty International. I think it's very significant because Peru is a country that successfully came out of military rule and prolonged and devastating civil conflict for almost 2 decades. We were having a regional meeting of all our directors from the Americas region, and I think it was very inspirational, and we've come up with some priorities on what we need to work for in the coming year, really to make Amnesty International much more effective in terms of changing the human rights situation over the next 5 years. What are the big challenges Latin America faces in relation to human rights? I would say that number one, it is impunity, because we still have many of the people who have caused the problems in the past. Justice has not been brought to the victims of human rights violations in Latin America in many parts. The second issue is very much the issue of the rights of indigenous people. So we now have a situation where many governments claim to be achieving economic growth, but at the cost of the human rights of indigenous people. And then we have a historical discrimination against women in this continent, and that translates into a very systematic violation of women's rights. So I would say that these are some of the big challenges. What we are calling on in the context of Peru is really an end to impunity, an end to discrimination, and an end to lopsided growth.
Muchísimas gracias, gracias de parte también de Amnistía Internacional. Muy buenas noches. La Sección Peruana ha promovido a nivel mundial un recojo de firmas de personas que se suman con nosotros a esta exigencia al Estado para que se reduzca la muerte materna y para que invierta lo necesario para que se reduzca la muerte materna. Hemos recogido en total 26.000 firmas de varias secciones de Amnistía a nivel mundial y queremos entregarle estas firmas junto con una entrevista que haremos con el Secretario General a la Viceministra de Salud, que es la que nos va a recibir el día de hoy.
The purpose of my visit was twofold. On the one hand, it was to look at the human rights situation in Peru and raise our concerns both with the government and with the public. So, we've spoken quite a lot to the media. Today we raised issues on maternal mortality with the Ministry of Health. Unfortunately, the President of Peru doesn't seem very enthusiastic to meet us. We take that as a signal of the lack of commitment to human rights.
Estamos bastante contentos porque han venido todos los directores a acompañarnos de América y la gente que ha traído firmas de sus países han podido estar en este momento que ha sido tan emocionante, en verdad tan lindo para nosotros.
Definitivamente el hecho que Salil entregue las firmas tiene un efecto súper poderoso para que pueda surtir, digamos, efecto toda la acción, ¿no?
Bueno, esperamos que de la reunión realmente se pongan sobre la mesa las preocupaciones de Amnistía, que principalmente es que se financie el Plan Nacional para la Reducción de la Mortalidad Materna, que se den los recursos económicos, técnicos y profesionales para realmente combatir el problema.
I strongly believe that the only way that the government of Peru, the elite, the leaders in these countries are going to change the way they behave change the policy and make a difference by reducing human rights violations, the only way it's going to happen is if the people of Peru, the people of Latin America, the people of the world join together and raise their voice against these violations, and that's precisely what Amnesty International is about.
Y nuestro trabajo es con pueblos indígenas de la Amazonía. También miembro hasta hace poco del Consejo Local llamado Comunidad de la Frontera.
Yo soy coordinador nacional de pueblos indígenas.
Secretario de Derechos Humanos de la Confederación General de Trabajadores del Perú.
It's a movement of people fighting against human rights violations. That's why we say join Amnesty International. Change the world. Join Amnesty International.